Alright, you guys want to learn how to beat Happy Chaos, huh? I'm gonna go over everything with Happy Chaos to teach you guys everything. Because I've seen a I've seen a few tier lists recently, and someone called it an ego tier list. A few ego tier lists, which I find funny. A lot of people really hate Happy Chaos no matter what. So I'm gonna help you guys go over it, and I'm gonna be very blunt. There's only maybe a handful of people who have been playing this matchup even closely to accurate. And there's a big reason. There's a specific reason that you have to play a specific way against him, right? I know that's very vague, but we're gonna talk about how you fight this character in general. I'm gonna give you a basic game plan. Let's talk about characters with high damage supers, right? Soul, Mei, I don't know if Axel really counts, but Chip, no. Potemkin has a pretty high damage. Zato, Ram, Leo, Nago, Geo. I guess, you know, technically. Gold Lewis does, and Jacko technically. Here's a major mistake that a lot of people tend to have against this character. I'm gonna show you something already. I've already done something wrong. What do you think this is? You've broken the wall, exactly. Now, Happy Chaos is basically not a character you ever want to reset against neutral with, ever. Like, this is not optional. If you consistently break the wall against this character, especially with a soft knockdown, you are not playing the matchup correctly, period. I'm being very serious, but I'm gonna give you some examples. So like, let's say for Soul, I just end in this sort of situation. So there's two reasons why. Number one, he has no defensive options. Or how you end up like really destroying this character is you run your offense in situations where he can't RPS. His round start options are not very, they're good in terms of what he gets, but they're not like very like overpowering. Like Nago's is particularly overpowering, you know what I mean? Like most characters should RPS against him at round start, because even though it's pretty bad if he's right, if you're wrong and you reset to neutral, and especially for your character like Gold Lewis or Nago, or, you know, characters that really struggle at long range, if you do not RPS around start, again, you are not playing the matchup correctly. You have to. It is not optional. But the benefit of that is if you're right, it's reliable for him to just die. Let's say like either you with punish or whatever, right? You end up here. So here's something a lot of people also don't do when they're running offense. They don't do the most offensive option for their risk reward. So what does this mean? So like, let's say like for Soul, I would do this to Happy Chaos every time, because if he's wrong, he dies. A lot of people just do this. If you do this, this is something he can play risk reward around. And this is something you have to do, right? Like you have to go into 5H eventually. You get the point of what I'm saying. Because his defensive options are bad, you want to represent him to have to commit to your layer 1. If you do not commit to something like this, where it's like, you know, close slash, like, you know, you use the threat of your offense more often than not, you probably won't have a very good time RPSing against him. There's two people that have done this to me consistently, or three, sorry. There's SQ, Stank Boys, and Daze. Daze did this to me yesterday. Basically, a lot of people don't take advantage of how bad his defense is, and they tend to be linear with their strings, which in turn makes it easier to RPS against. Here's the goal for a character like against Happy Chaos. So the benefit of this is if you get in a situation like this, you can two-touch him with 50 meter. This is not exclusive to Soul. This is all the characters I went through early can do this. But the idea is that if you get almost a wall splat, it makes it so mashing out is terrible. Basically, if you have to end in wall break, or if you want to for the reason, you want to be able to end in a hard knockdown so you can loop the same situation. Sometimes it's even more advantageous to loop the same situation off a meter situation. It's still like pretty important to do this. I'm gonna give you two reasons why it's bad to break the wall. Basically, the whole time he's still building his resources back. This is one reason why resetting to neutral is especially bad. So even if I, like, let's see, like here I'm down to like 1%. I'm almost at 50% by the time we reset to neutral, which means by the time that we interact again, I'll be at 50%, right? Ideally, you want to have combos that specifically are for wall breaks, like to not break the wall. We can talk more about how you approach the neutral aspect of it, but this is the most important aspect because you just end up in this situation. Is he gonna curse? Is he gonna clone? Is he just gonna swing? Like, if you can loop wall break at all, you want to do this. So like, let's say if you're Eno, like she has a reliable like wall slide, for example, I would recommend having combos for both, like combos that will 100% not break the wall and 100% will. I actually have a little bit of a theory about this. I think a lot of people hate Happy Chaos because he is strong, make no mistake. I don't think he's like top 3 or something. I think he's like, my estimate is 6 is where I'd put him, and there's a good reason for that. We won't talk about why, but I think a lot of people just struggle with the aspect of the fact that this character is very strong and he forces you to learn a new aspect of the game that a lot of people aren't comfortable with. But most of the players that are very familiar with the concept I just listed are the ones that do way better against me on average. And it's not their character, it's them. They're good because they understand how to do it, right? Like a lot of people like watch SQ and be like, oh, SQ just rams, like just does ram things. Like, no, she has a strategy, and it's one that preys on Happy Chaos as a weakness. Same with Stank Boys, you know? So let's talk about how you defend against this character. So let's talk about the quotations infinite strength. You have to FD him. If you do not FD him, he can loop it theoretically forever. Even if you just tap FD, obviously you want to tap FD against this, right? Because if you don't, then he takes away more of your meter. But you just want to FD his hits, not the shots. You just want to FD like this. Let's say like most characters 2Ds work in this way. If you FD him far enough, this becomes guaranteed. I guess even on FD, this is guaranteed. Of course, this loses to 6k, but of course 6k will lose to throw. And of course, if you do throw, then 6S will win. But with FD, it becomes a bit better. In this sort of situation, because of how 6S works, the further away you are, backdash becomes better. Because 6S has active frames. This is when 6S active frames start. He has about 3 active frames here, and I think 3 active frames as the next hit goes out. It's reliable to backdash this if you have a faster one. So this is more reliable for heavyweights. I would not do it as a lightweight, but it's relevant. I'm noting it for the importance of, you know, counterplay as a whole. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about. The downside with a lot of crumple pressure, this, is that, again, he does not do that much damage on a wall break. RPSing after, like, when the wall is about to break like this, is ideal against him, because even if he has super, again, compared to the other supers, he typically does not do as much damage. I know this is 192, but you have to understand. The other important thing is the relevance of this is more and when he doesn't have meter, which is important if he's doing zoning, and this is what everyone complains about, right? Everyone hates his fucking zoning. He does not build meter unless he has positive, right? I'm gonna show you guys how you beat the zoning. Alright, are you guys ready? I'm gonna blow your fucking mind. All you do is you flicker FD to the rhythm of the shot. Just look at how much meter this takes. Look at how much it takes. For me to keep this up, even if I do this perfectly, here, let's do this. So let's say you do this, I do this perfectly. You just flicker FD. You don't need to move. If they're going to do this, they're wasting meter on you. It doesn't matter if you go full screen or not. Eventually, you have to just wait it out. Because it doesn't do anything. This is actually just a knowledge check if you FD or not. If they do this perfectly, you can't dash. That's the one fucked up thing about it. But if you flicker FD, 1, it doesn't take much meter. 2, it takes a lot of resources. How long can they do this? I mean, with 100 meter, they can do it up to maybe 10 seconds. I guess you can, but I don't know if I'd recommend it. Do not dash after this. This is plus 30. After charge super, you do not want to do anything. I'll give you an example of how fucked up this is. That was gapless. You can see I held up, right? You can see I'm holding up, right? He can run up into you, so don't do anything after this. So this is the two main things already. This is how I killed 90% of people, and it's because they just get impatient or they make a mistake. If he has positive, he can do it 3 times, which is about 20 seconds. Assuming they do not fuck it up at all, which, good luck. Some people try to instant block this shit. I think you're a stoner if you try to do it. I mean, it's okay, I guess. But if you mess it up, it's pretty bad. I would just be safe. This is the whole aspect of it. All you do is you just wait it out, because he's just gonna burn resources. When he does focus, that's your chance to just run in. Even if you get like here. You can clear a lot of distance if you consider the fact, let's say you do focus into steady aim again. If you did this exactly as I did it, this is about a 70 frame gap. Trying to just show off how far, like where it hits. Her 5H is too brawling. So that's about a bit over halfway of the gun hurt blocks. So that means if you have a move, so Kai Fire S is a great example of this, that carries momentum. Soul Success, Kai Fire Slash are 2 great examples. If you have something like this, this is one of the best ways to actually approach after. Now let's talk about some important things. Number 1, do not jump. If you are jumping, you are playing this matchup incorrectly. The reason for this is if you get guard crushed, you go full screen. This will send you, this is like the Monopoly thing where it's like, you know, go back to start or whatever. Basically, guard crush, as high up as you are, will bounce you all the way back. You go to jail. I mean, you do basically go to jail. But you can see, like, if you do, like, microdash, you clear the same space, right? But if you jump, you go further than when you started. This is actually how I beat a lot of Nago players. Because what they'll do is they'll keep jumping over and over again, and when this happens, this is guaranteed, right? You get your resources back. This is 2 reasons why Eno struggles, but this is also how like Gold Lewis and Naga typically die. You have to Fukio during his like focus time. Again, remember focus is, let's see, it's 49 frames, I believe, right? Let's say 46 frames into steady aim perfectly, which I doubt it. 65 frames, I believe? 64 frames. Assuming that you do it perfectly, assuming they're cursed, is 65 frames. If they're not cursed, it's around 75. You have 75 frames to work with when he focuses. If he will burn 100 meter doing this to you that you can beat with flickering FD, you don't even need to move. You can be at a meter advantage. And remember, I talk about meter advantage a lot, right? Let's talk about clone. I'm glad you asked, because we're just about to start talking. I'm going to show you guys the beat all answer number 1, okay? This is, if you don't do this when you have 50 meter, you are already fumbling. When you have 50 meter, you can RC on hit against the clone, and this will catch him doing anything but blocking. Literally anything but blocking. So all you have to do is RC into it. Jab, whatever, do your lowest attack level move. This will stop him doing anything, and it'll force your block string. If he does, assuming that he's blocking, if he's doing anything, like a lot of people will do this, right? You get a combo. So that means if he hides behind clone, and he's not blocking, you can checkmate him. Hey, like my Kai? My Kai looking kind of nice, right? Please clap. Even if he does a full string perfectly with focus, which is rare, like this, all these circumstances coming together are pretty rare. I would be impressed if someone can do this, if I can really do it. God damn it. Basically, you won't even burn 50% meter. You burn about 40% meter, blocking essentially 3 supers worth. So this is the equivalent of what you can expect with positive, because focus is basically the same thing. Gold bursting against him is very good. In fact, bursting against him early is very important because his super builds hella burst, right? Because his super has so many hits, you can see it builds a good chunk on its own, right? Let's say he does this straight, this combo. You can see this builds about 30% burst already, which means if you end up getting zoned like this, notice how it becomes big chunks after? The longer the combo goes on and the more hits it is, the more burst comes back. This is if you burst early though. If you whip your burst, you're going to have no chance. Like, this is also a chip problem. This is, if you don't burst that early against chip either, you're fucking up against him too. I guess we can talk about roll. Basically, roll sucks ass. And if you're, I don't think anyone's ever complained about roll, but if you want to deal with it, you just FD. The only exception is some ranges if you do a low enough attack level. Like this, you can do it, but I think this is, I think you can block this same side. Like, I don't think this crosses up. I think you can throw this. On FD, it's reactable. This is 35 frames total. You can see I'm holding down back, right? See what I mean? I'm not even blocking correctly. FD is important against this. This is why roll sucks. I'll give you another freebie. Curse. Curse is not as important to talk about. It's because he can guarantee it, right? Typically, if he does not guarantee it, you can see he's still down 2 bullets. Now let's say you zone again perfectly, which is a little rare. Every time he's down a bullet, typically they'll prioritize focus because it's typically more important for zoning. The more that he does this, the more he's down a resource, right? So typically that means a lot of the time, if you're going to jump, you want it to be like here, like when there's nothing covering it. But if he's doing like this, you usually don't want to jump it unless you know that they're not going to do this, right? Now there's a bunch of character specific stuff that goes along with this. For some characters like Eno, Gold Lewis, Naga, these characters are pretty much binded by either if Happy Chaos makes a mistake or how well they defend against him on offense. It's usually more relevant for Gold Lewis than any of them. But typically, like, those are the characters he really bodies. I'm very confident of it. Everyone else has a pretty good option as long as you can force offense, but these 3 characters are specifically like made around how well they can RPS at round start. So that's like your good point, and you can just win or lose at round start, and that's usually how a lot of his matchups go. But you can see what I mean, right? There's so much stuff that you can do against him, but for some reason people talk about this character like he's the second coming of Jesus. I don't know why. He's definitely strong, but like I feel like people talk about him like he's released soul or something. Like, relax, it's okay. You will survive. There's a lot of stuff you can do. It's different, right? And that's where I think a lot of people tend to struggle, right? And that's understandable. Right, a lot of people tend to get frustrated if they have to incorporate new things or they struggle. Burning his resources is a huge win. And again, I want to remind you guys, I feel like a lot of people forget this. He builds no meter, or almost no meter, when he supers. Again, I'm going to show you how it looks when he runs at you. So if he runs at you with no super, you can see he gains a pretty sizable amount of meter. If he supers, he literally builds 0. So like, you have to remember, this character has no defensive options. If he burns all his meter to just like zone you for like, I don't know, like 15 seconds, I mean, who cares? Just wait. Just wait, tap FD if you want. Then just run at him, corner him, and kill him. That's as simple as it gets. And again, this is only as important because you want to end up cornering him and not just breaking the wall for free. If you break the wall for free, you can get into the same situation again and it feels worse again. Right? I'm gonna go eat because my food's here in a second. So thanks a lot for hanging out, and I will see you guys again tomorrow.